Welcome everybody to the Power A Team call. Today is April 20th. It's Easter weekend. Hope everybody's having a great holiday weekend so far. We want to welcome all the guests who are joining us from various parts of the nation, or nations, plural. We have three very, very powerful speakers lined up for you to hear a little bit from, tell their story, and some advice for those of you who are looking at maybe getting Nikken started. Yes, happy Passover, of course. And so let's go ahead and start with our first speaker. This is a woman coming to us from Florida, Tampa Bay area. This is Barbara Bertucci. She's been with Nikken 24 years. She's a veteran like me. This May will be her 24th year. She's a mom of two. She's background in medical billing, medical officer, manager. So from St. Pete, Tampa Bay area, I want to welcome Barbara Bertucci. Tell us your story, Barbara.
I'm glad to be here. This is awesome. And I always underline that I have more energy now than I did in my 30s. And thank goodness for Nikken, because I got in with Nikken. I had a real bad back. I worked in medical billing because that's all I physically could do. I would go in the back offices, grab their billing, and then head out the door so I could be with my kids and such. And then found me via Maui, Hawaii, which is pretty amazing. But anyway, found me in Florida. And I just was so glad to be open and to look, because I wasn't in drugs and, I didn't want surgery. And when you have kids and such, the last thing you want to do is say, oh yeah, let's have back surgery, right? And my dad was a medical doctor, and I just knew that statistically you could be worse off than you were then. So I'm like, I'm walking around now, let me do this. So anyway, I was introduced to Nikken and the amazing technologies, and within 3 days it transformed my life. Now, I had suffered for 4.5 years after the birth of my second child. And so I'm just underlining that because things like this guy here transformed my life. Now, I always go, it's the size of a mud flap, right? It's like, what is that? And what is it? But transformed my life. I got my life back from these technologies. Now, I just got back from San Diego, and you couldn't buy this thing off of me. It's priceless and yet very affordable. So I'm just underlining that because it's tremendous, and it's a part of of me and what I do. So here I am in my 30s, doing medical billing so I can have flexible time with my kids. I get introduced to Nikken, and I start talking to doctors and signing people up and doing things. And I'm just going to segue into the business part, because that's important, because what did I do differently, or what did I do now, would I do then? And so for me, I think I would have interviewed people a little bit more. I would have asked more questions on if this is a great fit for them.
Okay, wait. Let me ask the question, because I want this to be clear. So the question then, we don't have all your story yet, but yeah, definitely. If you had your first 90 days to do over again, knowing what you know now, what would you do differently? This is for the benefit, of course, of people who are looking to get their business started right now.
Right. Thank you, because I do jump forward and back, and I come back around. But yeah, so for me, I would have interviewed people more. I would have talked to them. I signed up anybody who could breathe and just, got them in. I had a Florida room, and this is real. Back in the day when you diagrammed a sentence and you broke it down like that. So I would put their name up around my Florida room, and who might they introduce me to, or who might I sign them up? And I had like 32 with only like 3 really playing. But I had 32 people that I signed up that I thought was, I'm building this, I'm going for it, because I did the freedom for my health, freedom for my time, and flexibility, and taking control of my life. And that's what I got. So I would do the numbers a little faster and a little bit more expediently. I also would have invested more in the beginning. I know in the beginning, I looked at buying about $500 worth of things. Now, for a young family, they don't just have an extra $500, but to spend. And so I was figuring out, how am I going to do it, because I wanted these technologies. And so all of a sudden, Mike, it shifted into investment in a business, and the light bulb went on. But there was a line, a demarcation of, oh, this isn't just spending to play and to do, but actually I need to be a product of the product. I need to have the products so that I can talk about them, use them, and be an example of them. And I'm starting a business. And then it was nothing to invest the $1,500, and now, you know, somewhere around, I think it was around 2000 at some point like that, and in getting our whole sleep system and more. So, you know, but that, I know that initial thing was, you know, spending versus investing was a big one as well. So coming up with the people to talk to, who to share with, and really come up with that. Now, just to go back to my story. So I, you know, 2 small children running around, doing things, soccer mom, all that. I'm now able, people can see that I'm not getting out of the car stiff and achy, or, you know, old Uncle Joe, he's moving kind of slow to get up and to get out. I'm now able to do that. So stop me from talking. I mean, I just talked with anybody and everybody. So that's amazing for me. But then going to, we went to Hilton Head, and we had a big event there, and seeing the people and that were actually making it to gold and platinum and going up the rank. And there were just people like me and you, and just regular people. They weren't like superstars, or I don't know, you know, you just think of different things. And so catching that big, I would say, I could only see so far, and that's as far as I could get. And then going to the bigger events, or using your upline and your people of influence, I would have used them more with the new people that were coming in, because they couldn't see what I saw. They could only see, you know, what they saw too. And I wasn't painting that picture correctly, but someone else could come in and paint the big vision of everything. I know I sat down with Igor, and we were launch thing. He was telling me he was going to earn $5,000. Can we back that out? Can we back it down and, you know, make it last for so I can figure it out? And he's like, no, this is what I'm going to do. And I'm like, okay. So we had to figure out the numbers and come up with the numbers. And it was just wild, because I didn't have that the people in the beginning that now. And obviously, you know, the global, I'm in over, you know, 17 countries. And I haven't been to all 17 countries, but my business is. So that's the potentiality of it, and giving people their life, because I have more vitality and energy now in my, I just turned 60, Mike. So now I got to say in my 60s, than I did in my 30s. And so I just love that I have my own business, and that I'm unemployable. I'm unemployable, and thank goodness, because I work where I want to, when I want to, and where, and with whom. And that's the beauty of it. It's such it's a gift. It's a gift of life that's natural. It's amazing technologies, unique to other people. And I'm just thrilled to be here. Thank you. I went all the way around and back.
Thanks, Barbara. So I guess your advice would be, if you could do it, everybody can do it. Yeah?
Yeah, thanks.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. Thanks for joining us this morning, or this afternoon, I guess, depending on where you're calling in from. Our next presenter, Brody Craney. He's from Logan, Utah. This is our first time having you, Brody, on our call. So welcome, and for joining us. He was a farmer, I guess, farming in his youth, studied electrical engineering and piano, a company manager for Utah Festival Opera, and then Nikken for 23 years. So another veteran, Royal Diamond. Brody Craney, tell us your story.
Well, I learned about Nikken through my family. I had a brother-in-law that had 11 years with major back problems. And he ended up using that same mud flap, if you will, the Flex. Had phenomenal results. Got results from things that doctors, chiropractors, massage therapists hadn't been able to take care of. I did not believe what I heard to begin with. It sounded a little bit crazy to me. My mother had some significant challenges. She had rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia, polymyalgia rheumatica. She was nigh into a wheelchair, and she'd been to piles and piles of specialists. She'd looked for lots and lots of answers. And these technologies, she got everything. She said, I've got nothing to lose, everything to gain. And my father said that he got his wife back. She got her life back. And he got the ability to make a grip again. He got off all of his thyroid medication. And after I had ended up 5 auto accidents that they knew about, the last one I rolled my car, they said, I don't care how weird you think this is, son, you will be using it. And I ended up on a Nikken sleep system. Transformed my life. Years worth of chronic strep throat and bronchitis transformed. I sleep 2 to 4 hours less per day, tons more energy. And I was awakened to the concept of residual income through Nikken. I was just blown away with the type of lifestyle that could be achieved through this company. I loved what I did in academia. I loved what I did in music, the teamwork, the large visionary concepts that were achieved through over 250 people at the opera company. I did not like the politics. I did not like sometimes the backbiting. I did not like the dog-eat-dog world. I did not like that I was barely able to feed myself, let alone think of being able to get married and have a family. And as I looked ahead, I saw many people in many careers. I mean, I was just in my mid-20s, and I saw many people in many careers who were still just, they were just month to month trying to figure out how they're going to feed themselves. And if they lost their job, they would be hurting within 2 weeks. And I didn't want to find myself 40 years down the road in that same spot. And so as I learned more about Nikken, met people who were making more per month than many people were making all year. And I just took that opportunity to say, you know what, we only live once. Might as well have an opportunity to try something and put my hands in something I was unfamiliar with. But I knew from my training in piano, I had my first year at Utah State University, I progressed more in that first year than I had in the previous 3 or 4 years. And it was because I had an absolutely amazing mentor, amazing teacher. And I figured if I could just find someone who knew what they were doing with this and then follow exactly what they said to do, I could figure this thing out. And I was pretty dang good at that for the most part. I made a 100-name list. I took my mentor with me on my first appointments. And I was able to, I got all the products to begin with. I was scared to death to do so. I mean, when you're living on a college budget and you've never been in debt and suddenly you're putting, I didn't have the money sitting around in a bank account. And so I took out a loan from Mr. Visa and Mr. MasterCard. The cool part was most businesses take about 7 years to break even. I broke even in under 3.5 months. And within 9 months, I was able to say goodbye to my job. I haven't had a job in over 23 years. And it's just been a really neat thing in that category. So I would just tell people, make sure that you are coachable and teachable. And do you want to ask the question now, Mike, or can I?
Yes, I do. I do want to ask the question. So, yeah. Okay. So great story. Fantastic. Again, humble beginnings and a transformational experience becoming an entrepreneur with Nikken. So if you had your first 90 days to do over again, knowing what you know now, what would you do the same or what would you do different?
Yeah. The first 90 days set up the path for a lot. And your first 90 days can be whenever you decide that you're really going to engage. Because I was on the products for about 9 months and I was an undercover Nikkenite. My roommates weren't even to know that I was on these products. I was embarrassed about it. And the crazy thing that happened is my parents found a former roommate and his new wife that had challenges. And we got them results. And when I had someone in my sandbox to play with me, someone my age, someone that I got excited. And once I engaged, that when you mentally engage, say, I really think I want to play with this. Those 90 days there are really important. And I learned that make a 100-name list. Don't prejudge anybody. Talk to any and everybody. And when you make the 100-name list, narrow it down to your top 20, people who aren't just people that breathe in fog and mirror, but people, when you talk to them, the lights are on. You talk to them and they've got some spark, they've got some zest for life. And if you can find some people with zest for life and people who aren't afraid of opportunity, people who aren't afraid to get their feet wet and their hands dirty, and then ignite them. And that was the part that I was that I wish I wasn't afraid to do to begin with. I was nervous about putting my agenda onto other people and being pushy, if you will. But when you've got something as exciting as Nikken, I just got to share a story from yesterday. I called a guy up at a real estate matter that I had shared products with 3 years ago. He'd lost vision in one eye. He'd lost vision in one eye. And I said, here, grab this, grab this. He says, do you ever know what happened? I said, no, tell me. He says, I'd been to piles of specialists. He said, I'd spent all this money. And he says, 5 days of wearing this stuff, and I got my eyesight back. Well, I want you to think, folks, not just physically getting your eyesight back, but getting your vision back and your excitement back for life and zest for getting out and doing stuff. And boy, I used three-way phone calls a ton. And three-way phone calls in my early days ignited people and gave them a vision. I wish I'd have done it with more people because I didn't have the ability to communicate the full vision of Nikken like people who were farther down the path. So to use three-way phone calls with any and everybody on the list, I think that would be absolutely hugely important. The other thing is not, as you're introducing Nikken to people, don't prejudge who is only going to be interested in the products and who's going to be interested in the business. I tell people, I say, you know what? I say, I realize this may or may not be for you. I realize the business may or may not be for you. I didn't learn this for about 1.5 years. I was always deciding, well, this person just wants stuff for their back, or this person just wants stuff for their sleep or water. And I learned that you've got to present, you've got to row with both oars. Both oars. Every person you talk to, you talk a little about the business, you talk a little about the product, and then at the end, after you've done that, and you said, you know, I realized this business may or may not be for you, but I feel obligated to let you know, blah, 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 blah. You've planted seeds. And at the end of that first presentation, I then learned to ask, well, would you like a little more information about the product or business or both? Would you like a little more information about the product or business or both? And once I had done that, I wish my first 90 days had that in. I would have captured and retained so many more people to make sure to present and row with both oars all the time. And if that was, that would be for me. Because I got all the products to begin with, Mike. I was scared to death, but I knew that Dad, when he bought the farm, he had to take out a loan to buy the farm. And I knew that entrepreneurs had to do that. I knew that I needed to talk to a lot of people. I put Nikken in all the nooks and crannies, but if I had been better at communicating the full vision or linking my people with people who could communicate the full vision, I don't know anybody who wouldn't want to do Nikken if they understood the whole picture. And that, to me, is the big part, is making sure that vision is shared.
Fantastic. That is awesome advice. Wow. Well, thanks, Brody, for joining us this morning or this afternoon and sharing your vision. Your vision story was very good, by the way, and your insights about the business. All right. We're going to now move to Orlando, Florida. A good friend of mine, Susan Carver, standing by Royal Diamond. She's been with Nikken actively for 23 years. She worked in Epcot in the park and in printing sales. She's an absolute dynamo, has a wonderful, flourishing business, particularly in Latin America. So, Susan, why don't you tell us your story? Oh, wait, you're on mute. Let me unmute you. There you go.
Hi. First of all, it's nice to be with everyone and everyone that's watching. Thank you for taking some time to learn about something new or a little bit out of the box. We really appreciate it. Every time people ask me my story, I always make sure they're not operating heavy equipment because it's such a yawner. I graduated from college. I got a job at Epcot. I was like a little tour guide around World Showcase, you know, where they have the different countries, making a big $7.25 an hour, living with my mother. And I bumped around from job to job. And it's just, I was one of these people that knew that they wanted to do something of significance, wanted to do something big, something important, but I just couldn't find out what it was. And so I was heading toward 30 when someone actually invited me to take a look at this. And so I don't have a real, nice pedigree or anything like that. It was just one of these people that's not lazy, that loves people. I initially wanted to go to med school. I wanted to be in the health field because I like me when I'm helping other people. Let me say that one more time. I like me when I'm helping other people. If any of you listening can really find out when you really like yourself and what you're doing when you like yourself, then if you can find a career in that, then that mental happiness is really going to be big. So for me, I had two weaknesses. We talk about the mind, the body, the family, society, and finances in Nikken. And I had two pillars that were very, very weak. They were all small, but the ones that were really irritating me was the fact that mentally I didn't love what I was doing. I was selling printing at the time. There was the owner of the printing shop, and then there was me, the sales rep, and a couple other people. So there was no enthusiasm. There was no mental like, wow, if I stick this out for 3 to 5 years, I can be here and go here, and I can have this opportunity. It wasn't there. So I was in a real down spot, heading toward 30. Didn't even have an apartment. I was renting a bedroom in someone's home at $400 and some a month. So it was a very dark period, even though I had my health and I had my youth and everything. It was just mentally, it was really grinding on me. And then financially, some of the earlier people Brody was talking about, he had kind of a college budget. Well, I did have $4,100 in my savings account, but I never had a credit card in my life. And so someone invited me to take a look at this. They knew that my mental excitement, enthusiasm, and my future wasn't going anywhere. And they were kind enough to say, hey, I think we found something you'd be good at. And then sure enough, Mike, I'm sitting there at the meeting going, wait a minute. These are products that physically have an impact on human beings. So now I get to come back and actually have a career without being a stressed out doctor with all these, well, this is the standard of care. And if it's not in here, I can't recommend it. And, and the stress and the insurance companies and potentially being sued for, all that. I was just like, you know what? This is unbelievable. This is an ability to take some natural technologies of magnetics, which comes from the earth, infrared, which comes from the sun. And this Japanese companies harness these things in such a way that someone without medical training can go ahead and say, hey, try this and try that. I'm just sitting here waiting for my turn with the two of these, and we need to label this the back show, because now I've got one more backstory that just happened to me 4 days ago. I left the convention, took some time off. Thank you, multiple streams of income. Thank you for being a business owner. After all these 23 years, I've been self-employed with Nikken. I love it. So I just decided, didn't have to call anyone, didn't have to ask for time off. I said, I've got a very good friend about 4 hours north of San Diego. Her husband and him and her have a ranch. And there's, goats and horses, and I just love being around animals. So I just got in the car and headed up there. And what do I always have with me? I have a bag that I carry around that's kind of like, I don't know if you guys remember Little House on the Prairie when they called the doctor. He showed up with this little bag, or whatnot. So I always have my goodies with me. And my goodies are these technologies, the new, it's been changed now. It used to be called the back flex, and now it's changed into another one, and now it's the mud flap. So we've got a mud flap for people. If that doesn't shake you up, yeah, there you go. So I took my bag of goodies, just went up there and enjoyed myself with my good friend of 25, 26 years. And I get up there, and she can't move forward. She goes, oh, my back. I don't know what I did. I was lifting my dog or this or that. So what do? I lay her down on her couch. I take out 2 little magnetic balls, and just as fast as I can go, thanks, Brody, I start doing this on her back. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to get the iron that's in her blood to start to dance and start to move, to get things moving in there. And again, no medical training, but anyone can rub, magnetic balls on someone's back that's suffering. I mean, she was in real pain, couldn't move more forward than probably 5 degrees, could move backwards without a problem, but couldn't move forward. So I did that. Then I take out some of our amazing silomelastoliate cream and I put the cream on her. And then I take that, back product and I just slip it into her pants and let her lay there on the couch for about 10, 15 minutes. And then I have her stand up again. And I said, I don't know if there's any change. She goes ahead and bends completely over. And there's no more discomfort and picks up her, 28-pound rat terrier dog. And we start walking the farm and go out and see the goats. I mean, this is what we have, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not a medical doctor, but I was able to help a friend because these technologies from this Japanese company are like nothing you've ever seen. And you're going to run into people your entire life with physical problems. And I saw that and I'm like, why wouldn't I want to have, an answer? Why wouldn't I want to be, and I'm not being dramatic, but why wouldn't I want to be the hero that day? Because I know she was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. So I touched another human being and was able to make a difference. And now I have a business that, Brody was talking about, and I appreciate you, Brody, bringing this up. He was talking about, he's working, but there's no extra income. And Barbara's working, but there's no extra income. And I was working, fully employed, but there wasn't any extra income. And I wasn't blowing it. It's just, here's my bills and here's my income. Guys, there's not a lot of gap. Something happens to your car, next thing you know, you fall below that. And then you have to kind of make it up. And something happened here, or you got to go home for a funeral or a wedding or take a gift. And it's like, well, God, there's not enough gap between your income, your bills and your income. It's like this little game that's played here. And now I got credit card debt and I got this and I got that because there's not enough gap. It's not tall enough. And so what this business does that I saw, thank you, God, early on, is it's an ability for me to take my bills, but to increase that gap. And so I actually had some extra income. What's the secret? The secret is me doing this part-time, 5, 7, 10 hours a week. Go talk to this person, go help this person, listen to what this person needs, offer something, get rejected, offer someone else, make a sale, offer someone else, find a business partner. And next thing you know, I'm a 15-income family living in a rented room still, but I've got little streams. Well, let me change it. I had little trickles of income coming in that I didn't have when it was just me. So by adding Nikken into my life, I'm like, why wouldn't you? Brody said it very well. Why wouldn't you do this? I don't know, because you're going to run into people your entire life that physically have issues. And then you're going to be in a situation where you're always just a little bit ahead of your bills, or a little bit behind your bills, or a little bit ahead of your bills, a little bit behind your bills. And I don't want to live like that. And I saw this as an opportunity to create multiple sources of income with a product that makes me happy, that I don't have to sell, that I just demonstrated it in a very personal way. And she physically got better. Last story, the next night, her and her husband make a beautiful dinner, beautiful salmon salad. I mean, he's an amazing cook. And they invite another couple over. And this couple has a 3,000-acre ranch, just 3,000 acres. I can't even picture what that even looks like. I don't know, like the state of New Hampshire or something. I don't know. But it was like amazing. And sure enough, there's something wrong with her foot. So I won't go into the details of that, but it's like it never ends. If you're asking questions and you're paying attention, people are going to come to you, whether they need a business like I did. I didn't need the product. I needed a way out of the no gap cycle that I was in. And now today I have my primary residence. I've got 2 investment properties, money in the bank, free time, and I love what I do. So
it sure looks like it. Everybody on this call is having a great time. I don't know. I mean, that's a sell in itself. I mean, if you can have a great time doing what you're doing, that's a big plug. Susan, we're a little bit over time, but I just want to ask this one question of you, if you could take a minute or two to answer. If you had your first 90 days to do over again, hindsight being 2020, what would you do different, or what would you do the same?
Well, I did the same as I got the technologies, because I realized you can't show a picture of the in a brochure or in a catalog or something like that. I know you can't. I couldn't rub the catalog on my friend's back and make her feel better, and I didn't feel comfortable, Mike, asking you to buy something, even if it was $70 or $90, if I don't know it works. Now, these products in my 23 years, I run about a 70% positive, oh my gosh, what is this? This is awesome, with a smile on their face. 10% of the people lied to me, and 10%, they said they tried it, but they really didn't leave it in long enough, or they said they put the mattress and they tried it, but you can just tell when you loaned them a knee wrap, an infrared knee wrap, and you're like, wait a minute, that looks the same. I know it stretches and oh, I tried it, because they just didn't. So 10% of the people that 30% that don't have a reaction, 10% of them they lied and said they tried it and they didn't, or they put it in the wrong place or something like that, or maybe they have low iron. I don't know. But I like 70% with zero contraindications. So number one, you asked me what I would have done the same. Absolutely. You need your samples. Your samples are the magic. The samples are the sales people. Maybe you have different impressions of us, those watching, that, oh, I'm good in sales. Well, I actually have been successful in sales, a little bit, right? But I'm not the salesperson. Those products that I rubbed on her, I could have had a 5-year-old do what I did with my friend up in Central California, and they were good. I mean, I'm embarrassed to say, but they would have gotten the same results. A 5-year-old could have done what I did. So get your samples. What I would have done differently is see more people in a shorter amount of time. But things still worked out financially. But boy, I probably could have made another $500,000 to $1 million if I had seen more people in a shorter amount of time, instead of stringing it out a little bit. So that was probably I wouldn't say mistake. It was the thing that I wasn't paying attention to. But again, I'm happy. So I'm
fantastic. Wow. Okay. Well, I want to thank Barbara, Brody, and Susan, our guest speakers today, and just leave you with one thought. Those of you who are still watching, and that is, I don't know if you've got this, but obviously we love what we do, and we love it because we can see the impact that it makes, not just some time ago, but every single day we're doing it. You're meeting people all the time, and the freedom and the flexibility of having an asset income, an income that is independent of your personal time, something you can build over time, part-time. I don't know how you can possibly manage life without something like that once discovered. But nothing will change until you make a decision. And when I say decision, I mean decision. Most people don't really understand what a decision is anymore. We use extra words to indicate that we really meant what we said. I made a committed decision. Well, a decision is really simple. It's something you promise yourself and you follow through on without exception. No excuse, no exception. You just simply make the decision one time, and then your life changes as a consequence. And if you look back on your life, you'll realize every major thing that happened in your life began with a decision. Now, for example, some people might say, well, I don't have the money to buy a new car. Well, have you made a decision to buy a new car? Because until you do, you don't need the money.
That's correct.
Until you do, you won't look for the money, or you won't save the money, or whatever. The decision always precedes the change in the situation. So right. Make a decision. Make a decision, if you're already involved in Nikken, to commit to your business, to your future, with a real game plan, a 90-day focused launch. If you're looking at this and you're thinking about getting involved, make a decision. Don't just get in. Make a decision to succeed. All the support is here. All the tools are here. There is nothing separating you from success but you and the choice you make. So make the decision one time, not to get in, but to succeed, and we'll help you. So with that, we'll leave you for a wonderful weekend. Thanks for joining us. Hope you've got something here Any final words, Barbara, Brody, Susan?
You
right.
were asking about the 10 Commandments, and it's going to be on Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern on ABC.
All right. Thanks for that. Wonderful. Everybody have a wonderful weekend.
He's such
Thanks for joining us. Oh, by the way, this will be broadcast as a recording, so look for it in the minutes to follow. Thanks. Peace out.
Bye, everyone.
Good job, everybody.